Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious. Well, I know. Well, I don't. Folks, I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
That is Joe Biden from many years ago. No, actually, no. That is Joe Biden from within 24 hours after Thursday night's debate. That was at about noon the following day, significantly less than 24 hours after the debate. You are listening to A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mickelson, your host. Welcome to this episode. Speaking at you from Sunday, June 30th, 2024, in the space and time continuum. The debate. Very surprising, very surprising. I woke up at 4 a.m. and I was completely depressed about the whole thing the morning after the debate. Of course, I'm usually quite depressed when I wake up at 4 a.m, but this time I was really depressed about the debate because what you just heard, that's the Joe Biden I was expecting to be at the debate. But that's not the Joe Biden that we got at the debate. I'm really depressed at 4 a.m. I wake up later on and I start to remember when I ran for office. It was terrifying to give speeches in the very, very beginning. I'm introducing myself to Democrats. So it's even, friendly, but still they're like, who are you? Why should I support you? I have to convince them that I'm the good candidate for this seat. It was a little easier in my district because there was nobody else to compete with because nobody wanted to run in the seat I ran in because it was such a red district at that point. We've changed it over the last 10 to 12 years. But anyway, this is back 12 years ago. I'm going to do speeches and I would write them out and I would try and memorize them. And I would think of points I need to have in there, certain things I need to for sure not forget to talk about. And when I did that, I sucked. And then I would be at some shindig that wasn't focused on my candidacy. It might have been somebody else's or some other event. And all of a sudden, I'm kind of on the spot like, hey, Todd, you want to go up and say something in the microphone? And I go up kind of unprepared and I just wing it. And all of a sudden, I was like, hey, that was really good. Damn, I forgot that one point. But overall, I sold myself to these people way better than when I was trying to remember all the stats in my head. Who I'm most pissed at about Joe Biden's performance in this debate is his debate team, his debate prep team. What the hell, guys? This is the Joe Biden. The following day, what I played for you here was a speech from North Carolina on Friday. You just say, hey, Joe, you got this, man. That was their job. Just to give him confidence. Say, yeah, we're going to rehearse this. We're going to rehearse. We're going to go through this. Maybe you should make this point. Do that a little bit here and there. But mostly throughout that whole week, just say, Joe, you're going to do great. You're going to do great. You always do. You're one of the best debaters of the last 15, 20 years. In all the debates he's done when he was debating as vice presidential candidate in 2008 and 2012, You got this, Joe. Just be yourself. Just remember, women's health care rights is the thing that is going to win us this election. Just remember to talk about that the way that you always do. Just do it the way you did yesterday and the day before. Just remember to do it. In the economy, remember jobs. Remember the jobs number. 16 million jobs gained, and the unemployment rate has been under 4% for the longest time in the last 50 or 70 years. But you always remember that anyway, so just go up there, Joe. That's what they should have done. But no, they're like, you got to remember this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And then I want to read for you. Heather Cox Richardson is an American historian, author, and educator. She's a professor of history at Boston College, where she teaches courses on the American Civil War, the Reconstruction era, the American West, and the Plains Indians. She previously taught history at MIT and the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. So this is Heather Cox Richardson. I've followed her for a long time. And some friends of mine also thought, I didn't know that they also were a big fan of hers. It's actually one of them who sent me what Heather Cox Richardson wrote. This is kind of long, but she wrote it the next day, or no, that night. She wrote it that night still, Thursday night, right after the debate. I'm going to kind of skip through it, but she talks about immediately after the debate, there were calls for Biden to drop out of the race. But aside from the fact that the only time a presidential candidate has ever done that, in 1968, it threw the race into utter confusion and the president's party lost. Who'd we get then? Nixon. Biden needed to demonstrate that his mental capacity is strong in order to push back on the Republicans' insistence that he is incapable of being president. That he did, thoroughly. And I agree with that. Biden began with a weak start, but hit his stride as the evening wore on. Indeed, he covered his bases too thoroughly, listing the many accomplishments of his administration in such a hurry that he was sometimes hard to understand. Now, this really resonated with me when I read it because I had been thinking the same thing. I got to get these all in. They gave me a list. They told me I got to get every point of this list in. It reminded me so much of when I was doing my speech prep. And that was the next thought I had when I woke up, not at 4 a.m., a couple hours later. She goes through and points out about the barrage of lies then that Trump told. It went on. And that was the point. She's talking about Trump, just lie. This was not a debate. It was Trump using a technique that actually has a formal name, the Gish Gallop. Although I suspect he comes by it naturally, it's a rhetorical technique in which someone throws out a fast string of lies, non sequiturs, and specious arguments so many that it's impossible to fact-check or rebut them in the amount of time it took to say them. Trying to figure out how to respond makes the opponent look confused because they don't know where to start grappling with the flood that has just hit them. It's a form of gaslighting, and it is especially effective on someone with a stutter, as Biden has. It's similar to what Trump did to Biden during a debate in 2020. In that case, though, the lack of muting on the mics left Biden simply saying, "Will you shut up, man?" A comment that resonated with the audience, giving Biden the enforced space to answer by killing the mic of the person not speaking tonight actually made the technique more effective. This is a really long piece by Heather Cox Richardson. I urge you to find her. She put it out, I believe, on Facebook, on her Facebook page. It's probably other places as well. But go find Heather Cox Richardson. You'll learn a lot from her. I found that really interesting about that technique. I don't give Trump enough credit to think that he consciously was using it. I think, like she says here, it just comes to him naturally. Just lie after lie after lie. And it threw Biden off. It's like Biden's going, oh my God, which one of those lies should I call out first? Now, of course, the next day, Biden was sounding like this.
And we're still the beacon to the world. We can never give up what makes America, America. Yeah! Donald Trump is motivated by revenge and retribution. But revenge and retribution never built a damn thing. You and I, we Americans are a nation of hope, optimism, and possibilities. That's what always built America. And that's going to continue to build America today. The choice in this election is simple. Donald Trump will destroy our democracy. I will defend it. So, folks, are you with me?
I got to point out the audience. Did you hear the guy even say, "That's right, Joe"? I mean, this is turning into like a Southern Baptist, you know, when they say something and the audience claps back with every statement.
I give you my word as a Biden, I would not be running again if I didn't believe with all my heart and soul I can do this job. Because quite frankly, the stakes are too high. The stakes are too high. Donald Trump is a genuine threat to this nation. He's a threat to our freedom. He's a threat to our democracy. He's literally a threat for everything America stands for.
Yeah,
Look,
so that whole speech, it was crazy. And I believe that crowd would not have been as fired up had the debate just have gone the way it usually does. Basically a non-event, which, by the way, debates never change anyone's mind. Historically, we've learned this, especially over the last 20 years or so. People aren't like, oh, I wonder who I'm going to vote for. Oh, I hear there's a presidential debate. I'll tune in and make my decision solely on that. There were 20 million less viewers of this debate than there were in 2020. 20 million less. In the 24 hours following the debate, the Biden campaign got 3 times more volunteers than on any other day. Since the debate, basically in 2 days, on Friday and Saturday, in 2 days, the Biden campaign raised $33 million. Within 1 hour after the debate, the Biden campaign raised $14 million. The Trump campaign raised $8 million. Voters are standing behind Joe Biden. I played you how Joe Biden sounded on Friday after the debate. Now I want to play you how Donald Trump sounded on Friday after the debate.
We won a landslide and remember this term, too big to rig. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election in 200. Think of this. He had a news conference today because Biden last night used his name in vain. All they know is electric. They want electric army tanks. They want electric planes. What happens if the sun isn't shining while you're up in the air?
Those were some cuts put together. We'll even kind of go through it again here, and I'll walk you through each point.
We won a landslide and remember this term, too big to rig.
Okay, that's one cut. When he can't get a word, he says, remember this term. And then he goes, the radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election in 200. He starts to say in 200, and then he stops himself. Listen to this.
The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election in 200. Think of this.
Okay. Then he goes, think of this. He interrupts himself. And now here's another cut. He had a news conference today.
He had a news conference today because Biden last night used his name in vain.
Biden. He said Biden twice. And then he goes on to talk about batteries on airplanes, and if the sun's not shining, what happens?
All they know is electric. They want electric army tanks. They want electric planes. What happens if the sun isn't shining while you're up in the air?
Also, on Univision, which is a Spanish-speaking network, pretty well known in the world, they had a focus group. These were undecided Hispanics, but they're registered voters in the United States. And they all said, well, it was very clear that Biden was talking about actual policies and pointing out things that have helped us. And Donald Trump was just lying about everything And of course, then Hispanics and Black Americans were insulted by him saying, the migrants are coming in, they're taking the Black jobs, they're taking the Hispanic jobs. The next morning, a lot of people, like elected officials, judges, people like that were saying, hey, showing up at my Black job today. People who have really great jobs, and they're saying, this is my Black job. Just so insulting, not to mention the fact that Black unemployment was over 15% when Donald Trump was president, and now it's under 5% under Biden. It's plain to see. You hear the Trump campaign saying, we're gaining Black votes and Hispanic votes and young votes. Really? Also, Sarah Longwell, she is a political strategist, always been a Republican. She's also the head of Republican voters against Trump. She's got a lot of experience with these panels that you see, when you're watching the debate, and then CBS News, and we're going to go now live to the panel that Sarah Longwell is asking questions of voters. And these are undecided voters. Now, what she was doing a panel of was these double haters. These are people who voted for Donald Trump both in 2016 and 2020. And they do not want to vote for Trump now after January 6th and all that. Some of them were leaning toward voting for Biden. So this panel, immediately after the debate, she asked them, are you still going to vote for Biden? And they're like, I can't vote for Biden after watching his performance. Then they're asked, so does that mean you're going to go back to voting for Trump? And they're like, what? No. No way am I voting for Trump. I'll vote for somebody else, or I won't vote for the president at all. And that means Trump is still losing them as a voter. Trump has lost many, 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 many voters that voted for him in 2020. I stick to my prediction that Biden, yes, Biden, nobody else, Biden is going to win this election by 10 million votes. You know how we know that Biden is capable of doing the job? He's been doing the job. He saved our country from the worst economic catastrophe since the Great Depression. He brought us back from COVID. So not only do we have like the best economy, and I know there are still a lot of people that are hurting, and there are still a lot of prices that are too high. There are many reasons. It'll get certainly better if we regain the House and keep the Senate and have Biden in the White House. He cut child poverty in half, and then the Republicans got rid of that. Biden put in a plan that within a year cut child poverty in half, and the Republicans dumped it when they got the House back. All right, these are the types of things. These are the types of things that we're talking about here. Okay, here's another thing. Dials. This is something that we saw on West Wing. We're way over time from our break, by the way, but we don't care. This is an important week, so we're going to go over time. Dials is something that we saw when we were watching the West Wing television show. Those of you who were, along with me, I was a big fan. I've seen it many times because I have all the DVDs. But anyway, there's a debate going on in the TV show, and you see the campaign and a bunch of reporters in a room, and there's a screen on the wall, and there's a green line and a red line and blah, blah, blah. It's all about people turning their dials. And it's usually Midwest America, and it's swing voters. And they're given a dial, and they dial it up. They can go as high as 100 if it's something being said during the debate at that moment that they really love. And if they really, really hate it, they can go as low as 0. So it draws a line in time. It was reported that in the Biden room, they had dials to swing voters, Midwest swing voters. Pretty much every time Trump spoke, the lines went down. The dials got turned down. When Trump said, this guy's a criminal, he's a criminal, he's a criminal, Biden came back and said, the only convicted felon is sitting across from me right now, or standing across from me. Dials went up, up, up. All the dials went up. Also, and it's funny because Biden has repeated this, especially like in texts that I've been getting at fundraisers and stuff. He said that Trump has the morals of an alley cat. Dials went up, up, up. When Trump said that January 6, 2021 wasn't a big deal, dials went way down. He'll only recognize the results of the election in 2024 if it's fair and blah, blah, blah. Dials went way down. When he was talking about being so proud of getting rid of Roe v. Wade, dials went way down. Now, in Trump's mind, he did great. He's very frustrated because Biden's poll numbers have gone up. Now, you know how I feel about polls, but everybody was saying, let's see what the polls do over the next couple days. Well, over the next couple days, Biden's numbers have gone up and Trump's numbers have gone down. This is driving Trump crazy. Trump thinks everyone's an idiot, except for him, of course. So he's really pissed off. Also, that the whole weekend, everybody's been talking about Biden and nobody's been talking about Trump. Everyone's frustrated about that because we should be talking about how much of a liar Trump is. But Trump is really frustrated because all the attention is on Biden. Trump thinks, I won the debate. Why are they not talking about me? Well, it went horrible for Trump. From the story I just told you about the dials, you can tell it went horrible for Trump. Everyone can plainly see that every word out of his mouth is a lie. He didn't have anything of any substance to say or anything respectable in the least. Just incredible. So it did not go well for Trump. It went horribly for Trump. But I knew it was going to go horribly for Trump. I didn't know it was going to go horribly for Biden because it did. It went horribly for Biden. But did it change my mind? What? Same even with the people who voted for Trump in 2016 and 2020. They're like, okay, yeah, Biden did not impress me. I can't vote for Biden. But there's no way I'm voting for Trump. I'm going to quickly, before we go to break, read you some headlines going down my Twitter feed of things that I've retweeted so that I could save them. To serve his country, President Biden should pack the court. Not drop out of the race. And that is the Times. That's the New York Times. Now, listen to this guy.
All of these pundits and pollsters and analysts that you see on all the cable channels and all the networks have no track record in predicting elections. And yet they come on and they claim they know how this debate is going to affect the outcome of elections. They have no idea. It's sports talk radio. It may be entertaining, but it has no scientific basis.
So what is the impact, do you think?
Zero. Debates are not predictive of outcomes. Hillary Clinton won all 3 debates, still lost. John Kerry won all the debates, still lost. Barack Obama got trounced, 72 to 20% in the poll, worse than Biden, and went on to win. That's why we rely on the 13 keys which tap into the structure of how elections really work. And they show that Democrats' really only chance to win, contrary to everything you've heard, is with Biden running. Look at the incumbency key. Biden checks that off.
Okay, he goes through a long list here that he has gone by for a very long time and has predicted everything perfectly. This is Alan Lichtman. He's a professor of history, and this is his reaction. Says we would be absolute stupid to replace Biden at this point. Another headline. This is Newsweek. Undecided voters say they now support Joe Biden after the debate. All right? Undecided voters now support Joe Biden after the debate. Here's another one. This is Grace Panetta. I spent the day talking to Democratic voters and volunteers at Biden's rally in North Carolina. Their reactions to the debate couldn't be more different than the ongoing panic from some top Dems and pundits. Some actually thought Biden did well. Hakeem Jeffries writes, a setback is nothing more than a setup for a comeback. It took more than 3 minutes for the fact checker on CNN to go through all of Trump's lies. Here is actual sound of Gavin Newsom.
There is panic that has set in among people who have watched this debate, who are Democrats, people who are strategists, and some even inside Democratic campaigns. Yeah. Do you think it's unfounded?
Well, I think it's unhelpful, and I think it's unnecessary. We've got to go in and got to keep our heads high. And as I say, we've got to have the back of this president. You don't turn your back because of one performance. What kind of party does that? It's been a masterclass. 15.6 million jobs. That's 8 times more than the last 3 Republican presidents combined. The only thing the last 3 Republican presidents have in common is recessions. Democrats deliver. This president has delivered. We need to deliver for him at this moment. With all due respect, the more time we start having these conversations, go down these rabbit holes, it's unhelpful to our democracy, our fate and future of this country, the world. They need us right now to step up, and that's exactly what I intend to do.
That's the guy who probably most people think should replace Biden, you know, the people who think Biden should be replaced, which is turning out to be very few people. People are standing behind Biden, and I think we need to learn that everything in our country, the way it's set up, it was set up, 260 years ago. The ideas that we had from back then need to be updated. We've learned a lot about our institutions with the Trump presidency. Some of them are too weak. We need to think about how they work. And we got to stop this superhero thing in the United States. It's like we respect tradition way too much. And then, in the world wars and stuff, the whole superhero thing, that's fun and everything, it's great. But the president of the United States is not a superhero. And over the last 20, 25 years, it's like the one guy. What always pissed me off about the Obama thing is we slapped our backs and said, yeah, we got him elected. We overcame the Republicans. We got the first black president elected. You get in there, buddy. Do your job. Yeah. Did we get his back? No. We ignored him. We went back to our lives. And he's going, look, I can't work against this Republican House. I need help. I need organization. I need people to get better people elected so I can do something with this government. No, we weren't there to have Obama's back. We got to stop this thing that, there's just one guy who can work magic. No, it's a whole administration. Biden has been doing this super well for the last 3.5 years. He can do it for another 4 years because it's not just him. And it's not even just his administration. It needs to be all of us. That's what it needs to be. And we're seeing and we're hearing in the very next day, that crowd behind Biden. He can't get people excited? Wow. Trump is the one who can't get people excited anymore. He can't fill the seats. At that rally the next day, he couldn't fill the seats. Whereas every venue Biden is in is overflowing. And the excitement is getting bigger and bigger. So we need to listen to people like Gavin Newsom. We need to get Joe's back. He's had ours. We need to get his. We need to work harder than we ever had to make sure that Joe Biden wins this election, along with getting the House back and keeping the Senate. Wow, the timer ran out so long ago. This might have been 2 times longer than the normal first segment. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll come back, and we're going to talk about some other things that are surprising about Republican support, or lack thereof, for Donald Trump. When we come back on A Satellite View. Satellite View. Todd Nicholson here. If you like the music you're hearing, go to toddnicholson.com and press the music link. You can find a whole bunch of music I've written over the decades, including the music you're hearing here. This was going to be the theme because I really thought the debate was just going to be like, yeah, Joe Biden kicked his ass, so let's move on. Doesn't matter, though, because debates are pretty worthless. But anyway, I was going to have this next thing I'm talking about be the main part of this show, actually. And you heard me, I think last week or the week before. Oh yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. Business leaders and CEOs meeting with Trump when he went to D.C. And even the ones that were leaning toward supporting Trump came out of that meeting going, wow, he was all over the place. He could not keep a thought in his head. He would start talking about something and in mid-sentence just switch to a whole nother subject matter. Wow, it was not good. It was not good. So that was the event that happened a couple of weeks ago. A lot of talk then going on some business channels with some business people, like CNBC, just mind-numbing to watch unless you're a total business and or stock market geek, And I understand that whole geekdom. The little bit that I look into it, I start to turn into a geek myself. It's very interesting, but it's super complicated. The kind of talk going on those types of places, which another reason that I've not really paid much attention is because they're usually Republicans. And they think that they want conservatives running the government because they want low taxes and no regulations. If you're a paint company and you got to get rid of paint and your factory is right outside, right by the side of the river where the drinking water goes into the town, it's still easiest for you to just dump the paint into the drinking water. You want to have the right to do that. You don't want government coming and saying, come on, guys, don't dump paint into my daughter's drinking water. Come on, what are you doing? They don't want anyone to do that. They don't care about your daughter. They don't care about their own daughter. They want to be able to dump paint into the drinking water. Well, those same people are turning on Trump. Here's some top stories. One is from 3 days ago, 2 days ago, 5 days ago. 16 Nobel Prize-winning economists see a Trump inflation bomb. Here's another one from Newsweek. That was Axios. This is from Newsweek. Trump campaign slams worthless Nobel Prize-winning economists. Okay. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm the one who's the business. I'm the business genius. I'm the best at going bankrupt. I know how to go bankrupt. They don't even know how to go bankrupt. Nobel Prize winning. I should be the Nobel Prize winner, not them. So, of course, he goes against them. Fox News. 16 Nobel Prize-winning economists claim Trump will wreck our economy. Another source, Economy. 16 Nobel laureates warn about the threats of Donald Trump. It goes on and on. CBS News, everybody covered this story. This is Jeffrey Sonnenfeld. He's a Lester Crown professor in the practice of management at the Yale School of Management. He's also a senior associate dean for leadership studies. Sonnenfeld's best known for the founder and CEO of Chief Executive Leadership Institute, affiliated with Yale. He's known for convening Yale's semi-annual CEO summits, which has drawn thousands of CEOs from across decades for off-the-record peer-to-peer conversations. Few know the atmosphere of CEOs and business than Jeffrey Sonnenfeld. And here is what he is saying on CNBC.
We look back into the data, and we're looking at this now for the last 4 months. We've been pointing out that there are no Fortune 500 CEOs who are supporting former President Trump. And that is a historic break going back to William Howard Taft and through Calvin Coolidge and Ronald Reagan and the Bushes and everything, is that it's been anywhere from 40 to 60% public and financial support. It's zero now. And it was zero in 2016. And the Trump economic package frightens them. It's extremely inflationary. The tariffs, 10% across the board on all imports, that's just crazy. It leads to a 3% increase for sure in inflation and plunging in the GDP. Right. And that's before retaliatory gestures. The increase in the deficit, he wants to cut $5 trillion of taxes with no commensurate cut and expenditures. So these are problems. He doesn't believe in the
Jeffrey,
independence.
But what do you say to the CEOs? There's a lot of CEOs who are watching us now, probably watching you speaking, saying, but you know what? I don't like the Biden administration when it comes to the regulatory regime right now. I worry about the tax policy and what's going to happen if the Trump taxes roll off in 2025 and what that debate looks like. I mean, there are folks, as you said, 70% of the CEO community Republicans. Do they turn out to be reluctant Biden voters? Do they not vote at all? I mean, where do you think they land?
They'll be reluctant Biden voters. They don't want the fabric of society pulled apart.
They don't want the fabric of society pulled apart. I want to go directly. Reid Hoffman, he is a co-founder of LinkedIn. This is CNN reporter Matt Egan. I think Matt Egan seems a little surprised at Reid Hoffman's reaction to his questions.
Biden has advocated higher taxes, higher corporate taxes, higher taxes on millionaires. Former President Trump wants lower taxes, and he's also talked a lot about lighter regulation. You actually think that Biden is more pro-business than Trump?
If the only things about being pro-business were regulation and taxes, then you go, okay, great. It's whoever goes lower regulation, lower taxes. The rule of law is what has made America very special. It has made an environment for business that has been spectacular, a glowing beacon to the entire world. It's the trust that other countries have in us and our system and how we interact, which allows our industries to export and allows the dollar to be the reserve world currency of the world. And that's the reason why Biden is fundamentally, no matter what, more pro-business than Trump. Trump not only is a convicted felon now, but is also articulated in many different contexts a complete disregard for the law. He's, on campaigns said, I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, it'd be fine. And whenever violence does happen, Charlottesville, January 6th insurrection, he never disavows it.
So go home. We love you. You're very special.
You said we have to take former President Trump literally. Do you think that the business leaders who are supporting him, are they being naive?
I think broadly, I think they're saying, he's just saying that for politics. That's just the catering to the populist masses. You should take them literally and seriously. You shouldn't say, no, that's just a cry at the rally. That is super dangerous. And in history, that always plays out very badly.
Last year, we had a rigged election.
Maybe he will persecute his political opponents with the instruments of state. And I literally talk to business leaders who are fearful about speaking out against this because they're fearful of retaliation.
Are you concerned that Trump could retaliate against you?
Of course I'm concerned. When you feel fear is the precise time that when you should think about stepping up.
I don't know. What do you think of that? Is Trump going to win this election? He doesn't have the support of top CEOs and business people in this country. Republican candidates always have that. Trump does not have that. Are they going to just not vote, or are they going to be reluctant Biden voters? They're going to be reluctant Biden voters. You heard Jeffrey Sonnenfeld say that. They know they need to maintain our democracy. When you just heard Reid Hoffman talk about history, and that we need to take Trump literally, because when we haven't done things like that in history, you know what he's talking about, right? Of course you do. He's talking about Nazi Germany. Now, I want to play for you kind of a long clip. It's not just business owners. We heard Adam Kinzinger come out and actually endorse Joe Biden. And he gave a really, really great delivery. I'd like to play that for you too, but it's just too many clips here. He has a really great clip that he put out to endorse Joe Biden. And then he sort of sponsored another event here. This is Jeff Duncan. He was the lieutenant governor for Georgia. He was also in Congress. I just want to play you the whole thing because it's just so good. He articulates his thoughts here so perfectly. And I want to point out something after this about people like he and Adam Kinzinger. Maybe Liz Cheney is going to come into the fold. They're going a step further than people like Mitt Romney even. And I have a couple comments about that afterward. And then we got to mention the Supreme Court. And I will give you what I think is going to happen tomorrow based on really good information from smart people Katie Fang, I agree with her. I think she's got and it's not anything I've heard anyone else talk about, but what she says about it makes the most sense. I'm getting in the weeds here. Let's listen to Republican, former Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan.
It's great to be back in the People's House. There are so many great memories I have in this building. I served nearly 10 years in a couple of different capacities, and I couldn't help but think when I walked in the door, the time that I spent in the House, walked in 2013, representing an 80-20 district in Forsyth County. That's 80% Republican district in Forsyth County, and learning the process of how to pass a bill, working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to take on organized crime, to help rural hospitals. Then I think about the time that I decided to run for lieutenant governor. And many people in this state said I was too conservative to actually be a statewide elected official. But by the grace of God, we won that election, and we worked for 4 tough years. We worked across the aisle, worked with Leader Butler and others to bring meaningful legislation forward. We passed over 50 bipartisan health care bills. We took on COVID reform, and we passed a very important hate crimes piece of legislation. There's also some tough memories in this building I've got. We were second guessed on COVID almost every minute of every day from the White House, specifically Donald Trump. Lies, conspiracy theories around the 2020 election, so much so that I had to have armed guards around my office and my home, around my family, just to fight off the fact I didn't admit that the election was rigged, because it wasn't. Fake electors sat just a few feet from us, sat in a room and tried to usurp democracy. And then the unfortunate events of January 6th showed up, and sitting in this building watching those events play out were a huge part of why I'm standing here today. All of those tough memories seem to track back to one person, and one person only, and that's Donald Trump. Going against the grain as a Republican and supporting Democrat Joe Biden for president is not easy. But I'm not looking at this election through the lens of being a Republican. I'm looking through the lens of being an American that cares more about the future of my country than the moral bankrupt nominee of my party. There are political ramifications to this decision, but they pale in comparison to 4 more years of Donald Trump, both home and abroad. Let me speak directly to the millions of Republicans across the country who are tired of making excuses for Donald Trump's behavior at their churches, in their offices, and at their own kitchen tables. Enough is enough. The nightmare has to end, and it has to end now. It's time for us to purge Donald Trump from our system. Let's take the next 4 years as Republicans and build and heal a new party, a GOP 2.0, a party that finds leaders that are willing to embrace conservative principles and work across the aisle, leaders that understand the value of civility and compromise, that once again value honesty and integrity, a party that uses policy, empathy, and tone to work across that aisle, to gain majorities, to talk about issues, use it as our North Star. The last 4 years have been difficult for our family, the journey, but a journey that's been worth traveling. There have been so many folks over the last 4 years, nearly 4 years, Republicans specifically, that have come up and offered words of encouragement, that have quietly sent notes, have praised the notion of saying and doing the right thing. It's my time to ask a favor of all those thousands and thousands of Republicans across the country who've given us words of encouragement. I have an ask. My ask is this: it is your time to do the right thing. Don't give Donald Trump 4 more years to continue to destroy this country.
So that's Republican, former Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan. He could be the future of whatever is going to turn out to be the party that's not the Democratic Party. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to regroup, because right now it's just a couple people, him included. But they don't have enough people doing it yet. And those people, this is what still makes me stand by. There's some sort of blackmail going on with people who are still in government. Adam Kinzinger is not in government. Jeff Duncan is no longer in government. They're coming out and saying this. Liz Cheney, I believe, is going to come out and endorse Joe Biden at some point. She's no longer in government. These people could get back in government and salvage, like he said, a conservative party of sorts. I don't even know if they're going to still use the name Republican Party. Trump has just killed it. I think they're going to have a lot of trouble getting off the ground because we have seen the contrast. Joe Biden has shown us the contrast. They want to kill women. We don't. They're still going to be anti-abortion and all of these types of things. They're still going to be cut taxes for the largest corporations and largest billionaires. They're still going to be let people dump paint into the drinking water. So they're going to have a lot of trouble getting a foothold as a new party. But this guy and Adam Kinzinger at least see the future. And they're like, you know what? We got to vote for Biden. And then we got to start working on 2028. Very smart. I think that's as smart as you can be on that side. You know me, I don't think you're smart if you're a conservative. I don't know what the hell you're doing if you're a conservative. But these guys at least see that we can't do this Donald Trump thing. And that leads me to my prediction about the Supreme Court tomorrow. Tomorrow, apparently, I wouldn't be surprised if something happens where they don't announce this, but everyone predicts that tomorrow morning they're going to finally give us their ruling on total immunity for the president. Now, of course, if they just rule, yes, we're granting total presidential immunity from all crimes, it's suicidal. Trump wants to get rid of the entire whole government. I'm the only one who can fix it. He wants to do everything himself. Why do we need them to do a ruling? Why do we need the Supreme Court? We don't need the Supreme Court. I can make the decision on that. I think they know that. And also, they would be granting Biden. So the crazy people like Alito and Thomas, well, they're granting then total immunity for Biden. Then Trump can't come back. If they do that, then Trump will not be able to prosecute Biden. And that's when Trump then says, screw everything. No more Supreme Court. No more DOJ. I will be the one throwing Sleepy. Now he's back to Sleepy Joe in the slammer. He wanted to throw me in the slammer. Now I'm throwing him in the slammer. So he's going to have to get rid of the Supreme Court in order. He's going to have to get rid of this ruling. So it's just sort of a catch-22 here. They're not going to grant total presidential immunity. But they're also not going to be definitive on that, no, there is not presidential immunity. They're going to send it back to Chutkan with details. And this is where Katie Fang came in. This is what her prediction is. I don't even think it's a prediction. I think she's I trust her in that. I think she kind of knows what's going to happen. It's still a delay tactic. The reason they haven't announced this yet, even though they made the decision probably last January, is because it's delay for Trump. They just don't want this to come to trial before the election. There's a chance it can start to come to trial, but probably not if they do this thing that Katie Fang is saying. They're going to send it back to Judge Chutkan for her then to make a determination as to what exactly was presidential dealings as opposed to just personal. She'll probably turn that around really quickly, and she'll say, when he did January 6th, it wasn't presidential, it was personal or campaign. So therefore, he is not immune. Then Trump can appeal that, which will take time. It's still going to go back and forth. That's what I think is going to happen. They're not going to give presidential immunity. They're not going to grant it. They know they can't, but it's going to go on and on. It's not going to be resolved tomorrow so that Chutkan can say, okay, it's back. The stay is done. In 80 days, I'm setting a trial date. We're going to go to trial before the election. I don't know. That part, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be able to come to trial. It might be able to come to trial before the election, but I don't think there's going to be a verdict before the election. But I also don't think there's going to be full presidential immunity. They might say, well, we need to set some immunity for some things and not others. Judge Chutkan, you decide what those things are and are not. And then Trump can appeal that, and then it goes back and then back and forth and back and back. All right, that's my big prediction for tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed this show. It's super long, but I just think all this stuff was some of the most important things that have happened. And all of this talk after the debate is just silliness, but very, very important. People were panicking. I talked to my friend who now has kind of become a co-producer, gave me the Heather Cox Richardson. Actually, his wife gave that to me. I still didn't get to, I'm rolling through in my head right now, and that's why I'm sounding incoherent, because I'm doing the same thing Joe did at the debate. Okay, what did I do? What did I not do? I had a bunch of things I was going to say. Did I remember all of them? I can't remember. Anyway, so there's just so much to talk about. I can see these podcasts getting longer at this point. Maybe we'll have to throw in 2 breaks and do our normal segments and have 2 breaks and have the whole show be longer. I don't know. I know everybody's been wondering what's going on after this debate. Oh my God. I hope I brought some information to you that will make you feel better, because that's what we're here to do. Help each other get through this chaotic election year. Let's just keep together. Keep our souls intact. Keep our psyches intact. I was feeling really depressed at 4 a.m. Friday morning after the debate. I don't want anybody to feel that way, and I don't want to feel that way either. So we're here for each other. That's what we're doing this show for. And thank you so much for listening, and we'll speak at you again next week.
You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mickelson. Go to toddmickelson.com for links and more information.